Okay, good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of the Berkeley Chamber, welcome to today's Berkeley Business Bootcamp. This program is an ongoing monthly webinar series thanks to a generous sponsorship from the Berkeley Public Library and their foundation. So we're delighted to welcome entrepreneurs of all business types here and every month for various skills to help grow your business. So I'm delighted today to welcome Dr. Mimi Zhou. She'll be presenting on how to attract your ideal buyers through review mining. This promises to be a very interactive and informative program today. So before I turn it over to Dr. Mimi, I want to introduce you to her. She's a conversion copywriter who bases all her projects in customer research. Because when you understand what your customer audience wants, you don't need to guess what they'll pay for. As part of her research for clients, she studies info their audience provides through reviews, surveys, interviews, and more. Her ability to parse data into numerical information and read between the lines to hear what customers say beneath the surface helps her understand what customers want, even when they don't tell you directly. A fun fact about Mimi: her path to becoming a professional researcher began right here at UC Berkeley, go Bears, and culminated in her PhD at New York University. So Mimi literally got a professional research degree, and she's here to share some of her expertise with us today. Please welcome Dr. Mimi Zhou.
Thank you so much for that lovely introduction, Beth, and thank you so much to everyone for being here today. So I'm going to share my screen. I am really excited to chat about attracting your ideal buyers through review mining. So it does take a second to load. I had it loaded and then I couldn't find the Zoom. So here we are again, waiting for the slides. But to kick us off, I have a question for everyone. So here we go. So a lot of my clients come to me and they tell me that they don't know what to say in their marketing to attract the right kind of person that they want to work with. So my question for you, and I would love it if you would unmute and share your thoughts, because we're all friends here. My question for you is, how do you find what to say for your client attractive marketing, and how is it going for you? So again, would love it if you could unmute and share some of your thoughts.
I'm Bobby from the Chamber of Commerce. For us, it's very much audience dependent. In previous jobs, the same thing. Try to understand our audience, what they want, communicate with our audience. Any sort of feedback that we can implement in a specific way, and preferably when we can measure it against a non-change in that specific corridor, so that we can understand how our decisions effectuate results if possible. And yeah, just getting that interaction with the customer in an organic way is critical to understanding what they need, what they want, and what bothers them.
Yeah, love it. Love talking that you talk to them. Love the measurability. I would love to hear more about that actually, if we have the time. But anyone else? How do you find what to say in your client attractive marketing, and how is it going?
Hi, Mimi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, Cynthia Trevino from Southern California. So I cheat. I use Otter, the transcription,
okay. Yeah.
and I record research calls. And then I go back and go through the transcription to find the golden nuggets of what my clients have said in research calls. It takes a bit of time, as you know, but it's amazing that Otter Tool's just such a great time saver. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. That's such a smart thing to do, to record the transcript and then go through them. I see there are some chats that have come up, so I am just gonna just wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything. So yeah, love A/B testing, Bobby.
Wow.
Yeah. Oops. All right. So thank you so much for sharing that. So I'm so excited to hopefully deepen the methods that are already being used by the fabulous people here when it comes to customer research, and to talk about how you can understand your customers better and dive deeper, but also get a more holistic viewpoint so that you can use all of this information in your marketing to bring in the people that you want to your business. So that's my purpose here as your host today. So our goals for this talk are firstly to understand the importance of customer research, cover the basics of review mining, and we're going to actually start doing it together because I want you to walk away with a little bit of the work done so that you can refer to it later and have something to build off of. And we're going to see how to turn review mining into messaging and copy. So to go over messaging and copy briefly, messaging is what you say and copy is how you say it. When you see words out in the wild, like on a website or in an email or in an ad, that is copy. But good copy, the kind of copy that sells, which is the job of good copy, is always based on good messaging. And good messaging comes from customer research. And so I'm going to show you that whole process today. Speaking of customer research, the importance of customer research is that basically, if you're not doing it, if you're not talking to customers, trying to experiment, measure, iterate, you're basically guessing at what they want. And if you are running a business, you can understand why this is a dangerous thing, because if you guess wrong, who knows where the sales are going to come from. When you do your customer research, when you talk to your customers, when you try to see what pains them about whatever they're having problems with, how it's showing up in their life, and what they think the solution is, you never have to guess what someone will pay you for. When we do our customer research, what we're after is called voice of customer, or VOC. And voice of customer is the way that your audience, your client, your customer, again, sees their pain, how that pain shows up in their life, and the solution that they think will make it better. It is importantly not necessarily the thing that you know about your solution that will make it better in the way that they think. So to give you a concrete example, I was talking to a client this week who's a nutritionist, and people come to her because they have headaches and they get acne and there's all this other hormonal stuff. And she knows that if they eat in a way that balances their blood sugar and their hormones, the symptoms that they're experiencing would likely be mitigated. But they may not know that. So if they're just like, I have a headache, and she's like talking about blood sugar, there's a big disconnect there. So we talked about how for her, it's important to talk about the headaches, the acne, other stuff that her customers are experiencing in their lives before she introduces what she knows about blood sugar that will solve their problems. You can get voice of customer in many different ways. The way that we're going to be diving into today is, of course, review mining. But you can also send out surveys and conduct interviews. And you can also do what's called a competitive analysis, where you look at people who do similar work to what you do, scope out their offers, scope out what it includes, what it doesn't include, and see if there's a gap in the market for you to fill. So these are all different ways of doing customer research. When it comes to review mining, so what I'm going to do is tell you what to do, and then I'll demonstrate what to do, and then I'll have you make a copy of a worksheet that I have for you so that you can start doing it yourself. Okay. So to start review mining, what you want to do is find businesses who do similar work to what you do. So you can look at known colleagues, or you can find people on Yelp or Google. And then what you really want to find, what we're really after, is your sources' testimonials or their reviews, hence review mining, because we're going to look at them to find your shared ideal clients' pains and desires. And that information is going to be the backbone of the copy that we will eventually create. So when we find that, we're just going to copy and paste the pains and desires into our own document. And I will give you the document. I'll have you make a copy to your own Google Drive. But before I do that, I am going to show you what I mean because it is a bit easier when you see someone else doing it. So because this talk is sponsored by the lovely Chamber of Commerce in Berkeley, for the sake of this exercise, I am going to pretend to be a health coach, a holistic health coach, because we're a little bit country in Berkeley, California, and this is the kind of thing that we are into. We are here for it. So this is my worksheet that I will share with you. I have noted down some notes about my ideal client as a health coach. So I'm looking for people who are serious about making changes to their health, either because they're struggling with a recent diagnosis, or maybe they've been struggling for a really long time with issues such as weight, low energy, digestion, etc. There's a lot of information about this stuff out there, and they don't know how to wade through it. So that's one of the problems that they have. And they're also serious about the holistic approach because they want to get to the root of their problems. So this is who I am for this exercise. So what I've done is I've actually found some sources already. So if I were a health coach, so I've gone to Yelp and I've looked for a wellness coach in Berkeley, California, and this is one of the results that I found, New Dawn Wellness. I have clicked on her website, so I'll show you the website. And again, I'm after the reviews or the testimonials. So when we look at this, I'm looking for that. And I do see some in the margins here and here. But I'm really just looking for like a long list, and I don't see that on the website. So I'm going to go back to this Yelp page. And what I'm looking for when I'm review mining is the reviews. And so I really like this long list of reviews from her clients. This gives me a lot of stuff to work with. And so as I begin my review mining, I'm going to read the reviews. So let's read this first review by Lydia together. And again, we're going to look for the pains and the desired outcomes. Okay, so she starts, Dawn is amazing. I had an incredible first session with her where we went through a detailed intake form and began to analyze my relationship with food, sleep, stress, and fitness, also intricately intertwined. I was surprised at first to dedicate a plan to improve other areas beyond food, for example, how to get better sleep and adjust my life to reduce stress. Makes total sense. There's no way to make serious changes to your health without addressing everything. Also love that her approach is individual. As I've worked with previous nutritionists who basically subscribe to a particular methodology and put everyone on the same diet. Okay, I'm going to pause here. That was a lot, but I'm going to pause here because this stands out to me as a pain point. The fact that she's worked with people before, they haven't solved her problems, so she's still living with them. That is painful. And she feels like they've just handed her a cookie cutter approach. So I'm going to go down to the spot in my worksheet where I have space to paste in pains. The formatting is going to get a little funky because we're copying and pasting, but we're not going to worry about that too much. And I'm going to put that info there. And then I'm going to go back to her review. I just want to read through it. So changes that I've made since working with Dawn are palpable, not only in eliminating some allergy inflammation triggers, such as but also in creating better life habits around sleep, stress management, and daily fitness. So these are concrete results that Lydia has gotten from working with Dawn. So I am going to take these results and paste them into my document where I have space to paste desires. And now that I've read this review, I'm just going to go back to the top. So I think there is like a nugget of information here. It sounds like the detailed intake was really important. So I am going to lift this info as well because it's different. It's a different desired result from the elimination of triggers. And it sounds something that was really important about Dawn's service. And I'm just going to keep doing this. So I'm going to scroll down a bit, and the next review is from Alan. And so I'm going to read this. I was looking for help to treat a condition called SIBO. Okay, stop here. Excellent. SIBO, that's the pain. We have a name for it. We're going to put it into our document. If you ever have this condition, I feel for you. It literally feels like it is a never-ending story of unbearable bloating. We'll save you more of those details. So this part, the never-ending story of unbearable bloating, that is interesting to me because this is how this guy is describing his pain. And this is really what I'm after. It's not what I, as a health coach, know about SIBO, although I'm sure that health coaches know that the bloating is involved. But what I'm really interested in is the fact that the way he says it, like a never-ending story, that's interesting to me. So I'm going to park that in my document. Someone referred me, happy I did, because navigating from MD to MD, trying to figure out how to get treated for something that Dawn understood immediately. Okay, so that's, we're going to just ignore the fact that this is not a complete sentence. We are not even bothered by that. But what is interesting is this navigating from doctor to doctor. That is a pain point. And you can tell that there's a bit of a pattern emerging already just from these two reviews, as they both mention working with previous practitioners and falling short, like not solving their problems. So after intake form, she guided me through a plan on diet and supplements that help my body actually heal from what I literally thought may have been something modern medicine could not handle. Okay, so I think it's a little interesting that there's a diet and supplements involved, but that's not, I don't know, that's not terribly specific. It doesn't quite show me how he got his desired result. So I'm not gonna do anything with that. But I think this piece at the end is interesting. I literally thought may have been something modern medicine could not handle. Like there is desperation in there. So I think that's interesting that he says it like that. So I'm going to copy that over as well. And so we keep going through the reviews. So we see SIBO again here. That's something I would copy over, and we just keep going. I want to show you the other way to do review mining, which is on a website. So when I looked for health consultants in Berkeley, this was another business that popped up, and this person also has many reviews on Yelp. But when I went to her website, which I will pull up, I went to her homepage. Well, it landed me on her homepage, but I see in the nav bar that she has testimonials. And so going to her testimonials tab, I can see that she's like listing out her testimonials, and this is great. So on a website, this is the kind of page that you are after if you are review mining, a page with a lot of voice of customer that you can look through. So if we just look through the first one briefly, started with Michelle 2 months ago. So I gained 20 pounds in 6 months, emotional eating. So these are very specific pains. So I'm going to, again, copy them over. Helped me improve sleep, found balanced meals, cravings disappeared, lost 14 pounds. So these are all great desired outcomes. So I'm going to lift that into my document. So I have already done this exercise in full. So I do have all of the pains and desires, more than I've populated my document. And so I'll be working with this info as we move through the talk. But I want to give everyone here a chance to do this for themselves. So what I'm going to do, and Bobby, you can feel free to help me do this if you'd like.
Bobby just dropped it into the chat.
Okay, awesome. Bobby, you are on top of it.
Hold on. Where am I? Yeah, just click that and create a copy, and you'll be able to follow along with her if you just do tabs side by side. That should work. All right, back to Mimi.
Thank you, Bobby. So what I would love for you to do is click on the link that Bobby dropped into the chat, and it will prompt you to make a copy of the Google document, which is the document that I just showed you. And I would love for you to jot down ideal client info, like I showed you. It doesn't have to be complete sentences. And I would love if you could find one source with reviews that you would like to mine and look through the reviews, the testimonials for pains and desires, and copy and paste them into your document exactly like I have shown you. So I'm going to stop share for a moment just so I can see everyone and maybe talk to everyone better. So are there any questions, comments, complaints, or concerns about this? And I am thinking we're going to do this really fast because we got a lot to get through. So I'm thinking like take 5 minutes to do it. And if you have
Just
questions,
a quick question, Mimi. How many reviews do you typically go through in order to create a source for your copywriting? I'm at 150. I mean, do you have a cutoff point of how many of these reviews you pull out?
Yeah,
Once you see like 5 trends, is that where you stop and then start creating copy? If that makes sense.
yeah, that makes sense. I see it looks like you need access. So let me take a quick look and make sure that this is public. I'm so sorry if it's not, but I believe I had checked previously. So while I am checking, I will answer your question. Yeah, it looks like anyone with the link can view. Let me see if I need to change it to anyone can edit. So try that link again. So David, that's a really great question. So there are several factors. Sometimes there aren't a lot of reviews. Like I've come into that, if you're pivoting, if you just can't, there are some really niche businesses, it's hard to find reviews. So in that case, you kind of work with what you got. Like it's better than nothing. And you kind of work with it, see what you can do with it, see if, maybe you can run a survey or interview. And then on the other end of the spectrum, I do have a cutoff, but I don't have a hard number kind of way to determine it. It's not like I don't have like a hard number. It's not a number for trends or for reviews. It's just I look at a lot of reviews and I get to a point where when I feel like there are patterns and I keep saying the same patterns and I'm not really finding any new voice of customer, which is what I'm really after, then I'm kind of like, okay, I can stop. And you always get to that point. You get to that point where you've seen so many patterns that you know what they're going to say, or you get to a point where you start looking, you've exhausted your reviews when you're looking at stuff that is kind of what you're looking for, but maybe has a different component or a slightly different flavor. And then you've gone too far. You're like, okay, these are not my ideal audience, so let me set those aside. So those are my guidelines. So is everyone able to get a copy of the document and start populating?
It looks like some are, others are not, but Bobby did create a PDF copy that everyone should be able to access.
Bobby, you are
And
awesome.
if we don't get it during this,
I
Mimi
got
will
the PDF, and I also people had sent some share requests, and I just approved all of those. So if you did not have access a few moments ago to the document, you should now.
Great.
Yeah. Awesome.
Thank you.
And I'll keep my email open for those who haven't sent a request yet.
Awesome. Thanks. Thank you, Bobby.
Okay, looks like we're good.
Awesome. Yeah, so while people are working, If there are any other questions, I'd be happy to chat. Or if you want help um, finding a comparable business, or if you just want to throw any question at me, I am here for it.
Hi, Mimi. Thank you so much
Hello.
for sharing. I'm just curious for business customers, what should we do? Looks like if it's consumers, we may be able to go on Yelp or other platforms.
Can you be more specific? What business are you talking about?
Let's say that I'm a wholesaler. I'm distributing products to businesses. How can I figure out their pain points?
Yeah, so I would talk to them. So what kind of product are you distributing?
I see it's grocery and the other products like drinks, food, etc.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And can I ask how you connect with the businesses? Do you talk through email? Like what does the communication look like?
That's a great question. Currently, a lot of word of mouth and just labor, like actually visiting them.
Okay. Yeah, so it sounds like you're going in person. So I think what I would do in that case, if you get there, so if you're going in person, I would try to exchange contact information, have them leave their email with you, give them your card and your email, and then you can follow up by email. You could write a survey depending on whatever you wanted to discover, write a survey and send out the link. You can do this in Google Forms, it's free. Or if you just have a one question survey, just write an email and ask them, say, I'm so nice to meet you. So I am trying to do X, Y, and Z with my groceries and the way I distribute. And I would love your feedback, and then you ask the question, whatever it is, like, how can I make this easy for you? Something like that. I would ask an open-ended question. So not a yes or no question. Yes or no questions shut down conversations, but you want people to be able to talk with you as much as possible. And then you can follow that up with something like if you're open to it, I'd love to do a 20-minute interview with you on Zoom. Get them on a call like this, record it so that you can get the audio and you can get the transcript, and then you can mine the transcript for exactly what we're doing right now. Does that help answer your question?
That's helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And it looks like David has a question.
Yeah, I mean, I was wondering, do you have like a top 5 uh, platforms or areas where you do the review mining? Like a rule
Yes.
of thumb besides Yelp or in addition?
So in addition to Yelp, I just use Google. Oh, sometimes I use Reddit, but that's very specific because with Reddit, you have to be careful that you don't go down total rabbit holes that are not related to your ideal audience. So there's a lot of voice of customer out there, but like we have limited time and energy, so you want to be smart about what you use.
I know in Berkeley on Reddit, specifically for the college student audience, it's very effective. They talk about what kind of gyms they need, what's lacking in the downtown area. I don't know if it is like for typical consumers though, but I'll give it back to you.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so I know we haven't taken a terrible amount of time, but I hope everyone has been able to find a resource and hopefully get some pains and desires copied over, because I do want to go ahead and show you what we do with it next. So let me get us back over to my slides. Okay, so now that you have your pains and desires copied over into your document, what we're going to do is look for patterns, and we're going to group our pains and desires into subcategories around those patterns and name the pattern for ourselves. So again, this is easier if I show you what I'm talking about. So let me pull up my document again. And because I've already pre-populated, sorry, let me hide the floating meeting controls. I've already gotten quite a bit of information, more than what I just showed you. I'm going to copy this over. We'll just pretend that I just got all that right now. And so I am now on this page in the document where you have my ideal client's pains grouped. So what I would do here is copy and paste exactly like I did the pains that you found above, because that way you have a copy of the work that you just did, and you're going to have a copy of how we're going to change it. So we're going to look for patterns and group this information based on the pattern. So again, just going to read what we have. So the first pain point is about working with previous nutritionists. And we know that we have another pain point that's similar about navigating from doctor to doctor. So I'm just going to put those two together. And then there was the SIBO mentioned, and I found SIBO mentioned in another review. So I'm going to group those 2 points together again. I literally thought I may have had something modern medicine couldn't handle. So there's a note of desperation in this pain point. And then I found another review where someone is also talking about digestive issues and desperation. I'm going to group those together. And they also mentioned trying a lot of diets, all the diets. So I'm going to leave that on its own for the moment. Yeah, so just with the other reviews that I have, I'm grouping together the pain points that sound really desperate. And then the pain points where people have tried practitioners. So I think this is pretty self-explanatory. If you just watch what I'm doing, this is the next step. And then there's stuff about around weight, and then celiac disease. So this is my voice of customer grouped into categories. And then I'm just going to give each one a label just for myself. So the first one, I would call something like visiting too many doctors to no avail. The second one is about gut issues. So that's how we're gonna label it. And then we have all this voice of customer around desperation. This is a very emotional pain point. So I'm just going to make a note of that for myself. So we can also see that there are different kinds of pains emerging. So a gut issue is a very physical pain. It's in your body. We've all had headaches before. We know what that feels like. But it's a different thing when the headache prevents you from doing something you really love, like hanging out with your kid. That's an emotional pain point. And we see that coming up here in the desperation. And we also see some frustration in the language around visiting too many doctors. So as we think about pains and desires, you can start categorizing what kind of specific pain or desire it is. Is it physical? Is it emotional? Is it concrete? Is it more vague? So, so this is the next step. I'm going to leave celiac on its own. And we do the same thing for the desires. So I've actually already grouped my client desires. just doing exactly what I did, just to save us some time, because you don't have to watch me do this again. So again, looking at the pains and desires that you have, I would love for you to take a moment and try to group them into categories. Yeah, Bobby, I love how you said I like to tag reviews. Exactly. So
I
this
have
is,
a really good question, actually, I think, and
yep.
it has to do with how I apply this in a real life scenario. Personally, I'm a big fan of sorting reviews by newest first. And what that allows you to do is identify some trends when you read them chronologically. And often, when you find some tags, you can attribute like a specific in a trend to a specific instance, and you can
Right.
either say like this is really like an identific representative of a broader trend, or because like of a personal disagreement between customer A and
Yeah.
the new employee X whose name has been showing up in three or more. But back to Mimi, but like I feel like the chronologically allows me at least to perceive things as trends instead of like having what the an overall bias that the platform or analytics are pushing to me.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, for sure. And it gives you a bit more recent info as well. Yeah, so no, that was great. That was fantastic. Um, yeah, I think, yeah, I would add that if you're doing stuff, when you do stuff like this, so whenever you work on customer research and you get to the messaging and the copy that we do, it really should last you at least 6 months. Like you should not be doing this, every month. I mean, I guess you could if you wanted to, but ideally your work would last you 6 months and then you would continue with your customer research. It's not like you can just put it down and forget it because customers do change. The marketplace changes, things change. And so you do want to keep up with it and be current. And I think that was something that Bobby was alluding to, that the current nature of your research is really important because you don't want to be speaking to things that are no longer relevant. Yeah, David. And as I'm talking, I hope everyone is grouping their pains and desires.
I'm going back to Stephen Covey, where he says to start with the end in mind. So all of this review mining and so forth ultimately is going to result in copywriting based on the pain points and the desires and so forth. But then where do you end up taking it? What's the end in mind? Are you thinking about Facebook platforms, LinkedIn? I mean, you understand what I'm saying?
I do.
You
Yeah,
got
that's a great question.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
the answer to that is that the end can be whatever you want. If you're setting up for your own business, customer research goes into all parts of it, from your offers to the copy that sells them. So the end can be your social platforms, it can be your website, it can be your emails, it can even be your elevator pitch for in-person networking events. It can be your bio. My bio that Beth read earlier was based off of customer research. So it really goes into every part of your business, and those are some of the specific different parts. And I will show you, that's something that I will get to in more detail later too. I'm keeping an eye on the time, so I think I'm going to, if there are no more questions right now, I am going to plow ahead because I'm aware that this is your lunch hour. So let me go back to my PowerPoint. Okay, so we have organized our pain points into different categories. And the next step is we are going to turn our information into what is called messaging. So again, messaging is just what you want to say in plain terms, in terms that you understand, non-fancy terms, not flowery. It's just what you want to say. So we're going to look at our pains and desires and summarize the core message of each just for ourselves. I'm going to show you how to do it. We are going to include some direct voice of customer for quick reference. And going back to your question, David, each point that we summarize in our messaging that can be featured in web copy, social, email, LinkedIn, elevator pitch, bio, etc. So I'm going to take us back to my worksheet, and I have actually already done this just to, again, save us some time. So I'm going to highlight this first. So when we looked at our pain points, one of the things we saw was about gut issues and digestive issues. We heard about SIBO, the bloating, the antibiotics. Okay, so what I want to do in this step is I want to write a little summary of these points for myself, because I mean, like the words as they are here in the highlighted form, that's not really something you can't just toss that onto your website, right? So we're going to take that, make it usable. So the way I would summarize this is, my ideal client struggles with digestive issues such as SIBO, which causes, and here I have some VOC, a never-ending story of unbearable bloating, along with discomfort and unwanted weight loss. The possible cause is antibiotics. And I have a note that this may be a problem spanning years and they are desperate. So I'm just noting for myself the information that I have already found. I find that when I do this, I like understand the information in a different way because I have to basically reiterate it for myself. So here is another example of a pain point about trying too many diets, too many doctors, not going anywhere. So this is the raw data, and I would summarize this by saying, my client has tried multiple doctors and diets, gluten-free, dairy-free, vegan, supplements, probiotics, to no avail. This is more of an emotional pain of exhaustion and believing that their condition can't be changed. So this is all I'm doing in this step. And I would love for you to take at least one group. I know we're going really fast, but I'd love for you to take at least one group of pains or desires and write a little bullet summary for yourself. And if anyone again wants to chat with me about anything, anything, questions, comments, complaints, or concerns, you're welcome to. If you want to also put stuff into the chat, I'm happy to take a quick look. If anyone is done, please let me know as well, so I'm not just hanging out here in silence.
I might.
I think we can assume everyone's doing their research offline and they might need a little more time. So
from having done this previously in other jobs, we were able to identify and I'd say like correct behavioral issues with some key staff members where we were getting the same message over and over through customers, through different things. And eventually those messages synced in and allowed us to like make instrumental, deliberate changes. And with a lot of the time with the customers who have a specific pain point, if you're able to identify it and they feel like they are a key part in helping you improve your business, that person immediately becomes your most loyal customer and may spend tens of thousands of dollars and tell all of their friends about how like you made it right for them when they had a weird or off-putting experience and went out of your way to make them like to make it good by them.
Yeah, I mean, that's how you build a business that lasts. Yeah, like I mean, building a business is hard. I think we all know that. And when you take the time to talk to people, listen to them, I mean, people just want to be listened to. Like we all just want to be listened to.
It's that everyone
Yeah.
wants to be listened to. And I don't even know if you really need to listen to them, but you need to make them feel like it,
Sure.
especially in sales. They have so many choices. I want them to choose me and I want them to feel good about that choice.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, it's not, I think part of customer research, and this goes back to the earlier question from, I'm sorry, I don't know your name, but I know the initials are AW. I think, like customer or client management, which is, a different part of your business. So obviously there's the skills that we have to do our business. So I'm a copywriter, so I have the writing skills, but customer outreach, customer management, that's a whole different skill set that's just
I
as
thought of
important.
a more specific pain point, and by reviewing other regions with higher traffic, I was running a wine tasting room, and people bring pets or dogs wine tasting,
Oh,
and this presents a complex set of things. There are some tasters that are allergic to animals. Some
yeah.
people bring family members. Well, another person in the tasting room may have a pit bull, and there's some potential liabilities, and seeing all the different sides of this and interacting with directly with the customers and finding something that satisfies everybody would have been impossible without reaching out and collecting that information directly.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, because the business doesn't like exist in a vacuum. It exists in the real world. Okay, I have a message, so I'm gonna look at it. Okay, this is a great question. So, I am going to share the question, and if the person who asked wants to unmute to have a conversation, that's fine. But if not, that's cool too. So the question is there a degree of pain that customers need to get to before they will typically move forward? That is an excellent question. So your customer is born in the pain stage. That is what makes a customer. If they're like, we don't have time to just go around and look at businesses for no reason. We look at stuff, we put our money to stuff because there's a pain in our life that we need to solve. So pain is really is important. Pain has an important role. um I don't I would not necessarily. So I don't really think about degrees of pain. What I look for is trigger events. So if you think about a customer journey, they feel the pain for the first time. But they might not be ready to buy at that time because maybe they have another solution. Maybe it's just too hard to go out of their way, whatever. But that first event, is you want to note that event where they first think of you. And there might be a few other events like that. You want to find out what those are, and you can do that through customer interviews. Note what they are. And then we get to the final event before they purchase. And that is the event that is really important. It's like, what was the thing that crossed the line that pushed them into a new behavior? So, just to make it a bit more concrete, say I have a refrigerator and something in it, breaks where I don't get the electricity. So like the first time it happened, and it's not a power outage, the first time it happens, I'm like, okay, that's kind of annoying, but my vegetables are still edible. So I'm not going to go out and buy a new fridge, like, um, but then, and then maybe it happens a few more times. It's still annoying, but are you really going to go out and buy a new refrigerator? Like, so if you were selling refrigerators, you would want to look for the event that makes someone go out and do that. And so I guess I will share for me. So I am the new mom of a 7-month-old and I am nursing. So I have breast milk in my freezer, and it's really important to me that that stays frozen. if you've ever worked with breast milk or any of this, you know that there are rules about like how long you can keep it, how long it can be on the counter, how long it can be thawed, how like it's nuts. But anyway, it's really important. Like I can't let that melt because that just, you know. And if my fridge power ever got to a point where that was like it was out for so long that I was worried that something frozen would start to melt, that would be when I would like that would push me into a new behavior. So I guess when you talk about degree of pain, that is a bigger degree than like, oh, my vegetables are not as fresh. But I don't look for a concrete degree of pain. I just look for the trigger events. So I hope that answers your question, and you can let me know in the chat if you'd like, or let me know follow-up questions. Okay, I see that David has a question, and so I'm going to answer your question, and I'm going to take us back to our slides and our work. So David.
Well, first of all, I think you've done a magnificent job covering an immensely important function that we have to perform as business owners, which is to get our audience in the door. And I think using reviews as a basis is superb because you come in well informed, knowing what your ideal customer is thinking about. So therefore, that hook can be set almost immediately. And I mean, this is the key pivotal area, I think, for any business to stay in business, what you're addressing right now. And I think you've done a masterful job, absolutely, giving us a format and a framework to work with. Secondly, thank you, I'm saying.
Thank you.
In essence, because lead gen is what it's all about, and then conversion, of course. But how well the copy is written is going to lead to conversion automatically, in essence, if you've done it right. It's the next natural step. So that being said, thank you. I was going to ask you what role ChatGPT or, you know, any generative AI, what role it serves in what you're doing.
So that is an excellent question. Everyone has been asking me that question lately. So do you mean in my work as a marketer or in review mining specifically in the work that we're looking at today?
Well, in designing copy, offers, even bios you mentioned earlier. I hadn't thought about that, but that's perfect. But yeah, just in terms of, do you use it as a, how do I want to say it? A method of evaluation? Or have you found that you can incorporate some of what AI is doing into your copywriting?
So I have played with AI, but I'm not using it in my business at this moment. That's not to say, I mean, I see ways of doing it. So I would actually refer you to a video by the Berkeley Chamber, and maybe Beth or Bobby can jump in. You know what I'm talking about with Lisa a few weeks ago. Do you want to?
You beat me to it. I'm going to pull up the link. I'll put the link right now, Mimi. Thank you.
Yeah, so that was an excellent workshop by Lisa Kane, I believe. And she shows you how to use different AI and like different ways of using it in your business from I remember we did some like stuff with prospecting, and then some stuff in Canva with AI generated images, and then some video. I don't know if you guys want to jump in and say more.
I think her key things were about using it to overcome writer's block with the copy in the first draft, and you always need to review it. And then also sculpting your message for specific audiences. So let's say you have your copy completed, but you want it specialized for Facebook or Twitter, etc. And back to you. Those were, I think, and I'm adding this link in here to you. That just did it. Cool.
Yeah, so David, I would refer you to that for thoughts on AI overall. I'm gonna go back to my slides because I know it's almost the top of the hour and I do want to get through a little bit more. So hopefully by this time you have at least one of your pains or desires summarized. And with the summary that you've written for yourself, it is time to try turning it into conversion copy. So conversion copy is copy that follows specific frameworks that are geared to sales, and these frameworks have been proven to convert better. So there's a reason they've been around for a long time and that have been passed down to us in our current age. Two of the most popular conversion copy frameworks are PAS, which stands for Problem, Agitation, Solution, and ADA, which stands for Attention, Interest, Desire, and Action. And so there's a reason that we've been looking for pains and desires specifically, which is that if you want to lead a piece of copy with pain, I highly suggest putting it into the PAS format. And if you want to lead a piece of copy with desire, I suggest the ADA format. You know what is pain-led versus what is desire-led, because when you read copy that is pain-led, it probably makes you feel the pain a little bit more. When you read stuff that is desire-led, there's less of that painful nudge to it. So I'm going to go back to my example here. And again, I've already done the exercise, so I can just show you. So taking the pain point about an ideal client who struggles with digestive issues such as SIBO, I am going to follow the PAS format, introduce the problem, which is the digestive issues, and the bloating, discomfort, and unwanted weight loss they bring are no fun. So that's my stating the problem. The agitation comes in when I say, especially if you've been dealing with them for years with no end in sight. And this again comes directly from that voice of customer where there was that hint of desperation in what people were saying. And then as a health coach, I want to introduce my solution. So I would say that's where I come in, using a functional medicine approach to get to the root cause of your problems. I can help you understand your issues, craft a meal plan, that avoids triggers, and reduce your day-to-day discomfort. So this is how I would turn the messaging point here, which is just the point as we've stated, into copy, which is where you can be a little bit more creative. We have these dashes, the way the sentences are broken up, the italics. And this is what I would use. So going back to your question, David, I could use this on my website. Maybe I could use it in an email. I could use it on LinkedIn. Yeah, it's up to you where to use it. And I do have an example of a desire-led piece of copy following ADA. So we didn't talk about the desires so much as I went through the examples, but one of the desires of my ideal client is to create a lifestyle and address their habits. So maybe get better sleep, managing stress, nutrition, and addressing these root cause things that would help them feel happier overall. So if I were to put this information, this message into ADA, I would say something like, put an end to feeling bleh. So something that captures attention, and then we awaken the interest and desire. I curate balanced meal plans for folks struggling with cravings so that they lose weight, experience lower anxiety, and improve sleep. How? Because food is the foundation for all your other lifestyle factors. Walk away from my 6-week program with better knowledge of what fuels your body and see your lifestyle improve. And then we want that call to action. Discover the details here. So I would again love for you to try writing some copy if there is enough time. Is there enough time?
I know that some folks might need to drop off, but we're happy to go a few minutes over, Mimi.
Okay, sounds good. So if you'd like to write some copy, you can put it in the chat if you want me to look at it quickly. I am also here for any other questions, comments, concerns, or complaints. Let me check the chat here. Thank you, Jeannie, for that feedback. That's very kind. She does have a great name.
So Mimi, if folks want to connect with you offline and maybe take advantage of your offerings as a copywriter, how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, I have a slide about that. Thank you for reminding me about that. So if you would also, if you need to go, I would love to hear very quickly what was good about this. If you could put it in the chat. This is also me asking for customer research and feedback. But if you want to connect with me further and learn more about customer research, I send out one email a month about it in my newsletter, which is called Smarter Customer Research. And the URL is mimizhou.com/newsletter. And you can also find me on Instagram and LinkedIn. You can just search for my name and I think I will probably appear.
Well, Mimi, this has just been amazing. I think we all have learned some fresh new ideas on how to better market our businesses. And I'm just delighted to have had you here today.
Thank you so much for having me, Beth.
Yeah.
The follow-up email we send with the link to the YouTube and stuff will also have contact info for Mimi and opportunities for you to work further on expanding your copywriting prowess.
Thank you, Bobby.
All right. Well, thank you so much. If there are no other questions, we'll go ahead and log off. I thank you all for joining us today. Thank you, Dr. Mimi Zhou. Thank you to the Berkeley Public Library. Thank you to all of our guests. I hope you got as much out of it as we did, and we look forward to seeing you at an upcoming event. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.